It's Mercury Retrograde once again, and as always, everyone wants to know how to survive it. Well, stay tuned because I'll show you exactly how to survive each and every Mercury Retrograde. Hi, and welcome to SimpleSpiritualityPH. So for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Regine. I am an intuitive, manifesting-based tarot reader. I am a certified Reiki healer and an overall lightworker. And before we dive into today's episode, I would like to invite everyone who would like to receive notifications of my new videos to please hit the subscribe button over there. If you like this video later on, please give it your thumbs up. If you have any comments or suggestions, you want to say hey, just comment down below. And if you would like your very own tarot reading or Reiki healing session with me, online for now, of course, well, here are the details. Alrighty, so let's get to the meat of the video. Now, Mercury Retrograde, I am actually filming this video a day after the very first Mercury Retrograde of 2021. So welcome back, Mercury Retrograde. Every year, or every month actually, or every time Mercury Retrograde comes about, I find myself creating a video for this. And I decided to make this kind of like big omnibus video just so everyone can have a reference of just one video to look at instead of all the mini little videos that I've made so far. But this topic is very popular, and it is because I've noticed that for the past couple of years, Mercury Retrograde has started to accumulate a bad rep from all different kinds of sources. And so whether you consider yourself spiritual or not, Mercury Retrograde does happen, and it's actually found its way to different kinds of avenues, such as social media. Of course, it's always been around for astrologers, for tarot readers, Reiki healers, for energy workers, basically. And yeah, so now it's a bit more popular, even though you don't consider yourself as someone who is spiritual per se, or someone who believes in astrology per se, or even in the planets, or even in energy per se. I'm pretty sure that you've heard about Mercury Retrograde and what the supposed effects are, right? And I can also bet that the things you've heard from Mercury Retrograde have been negative. Like probably you've heard that Mercury Retrograde is a time where all your exes come back, where all your old friends who you've cut off from your life come back, old patterns resurface, negative thoughts come up, what else? All your different negative emotional or even mental states come back. And this is because, yes, that is true. It doesn't happen for everyone, but it's highly likely that it'll happen, yes, during Mercury Retrograde. But the thing is, in order to really survive Mercury Retrograde, we have to, first and foremost, and this is the very first tip that I will give you, first and foremost, we have to stop making it this huge thing, this huge insurmountable thing. The only reason why Mercury Retrograde has a hold on anyone is because he or she, that person, they believe that it will. All right? In a focus-based universe, regardless of what time it is, whether it be Saturn retrograde, Venus Mercury retrograde, which also actually has a bad rep, Neptune, Mercury, any kind of retrograde, whether a lion's gate opens, whether a solar flare, happens and disrupts all the energy, whenever anything happens, the energetic effect of that will always be up to you. Yes, during Mercury retrograde, emotions can be high. Yes, during Mercury retrograde, a lot of things could possibly go wrong, but you can actually avoid all of this by intending that you are immune to it, or very simply by intending that Mercury retrograde is something positive. So the very first thing to do is really to diminish that kind of negative power that Mercury retrograde has. It does not want you to be sad. It does not want you to be depressed. It does not want you to go through all of these negative patterns that you thought you already, You already disintegrated. It does not want to punish you. It's just what it is. It's just Mercury retrograde. So yes, don't make Mercury retrograde this huge insurmountable thing. Treat it as a point in time, nothing more. All right? So that's the very first thing. Do not make Mercury retrograde, or any retrograde for that matter, something so insurmountable, and let's go as far as Saturn return. Don't make them so insurmountable. Don't fear them. Don't fear the possibility of negativity surrounding this occurrence, this event. Okay. Gosh, I can't talk today. But anyway, let's move on. So you've got that down pat. Do not make Mercury retrograde something insurmountable. All right. Second thing, whenever any retrograde comes about, whether it be Saturn, Neptune, Venus, Mercury retrograde, the thing to remember is that this is a time for you to go inside. This is a time for you to reflect, and rightfully so. Majority of our days are spent working for, let's say, for example, working for someone else, earning money for a living, not just for ourselves, but for our families, trying to look good for other people, trying to entertain other people when it comes to work, and, even our girlfriends or boyfriends, or our husbands, wives, or families, right? Majority of us live our lives for other people. And oftentimes this results in forgetting ourselves. And so imagine yourself as always putting yourself back on the bookshelf, and you getting dusty and never being able to be read. I'm sure we've all had those books where we've bought them. We're so excited to read them. We want to read them, but we have other books to read. So we put that book on the bookshelf, and it stays there. It gathers dust. It never gets picked up. But it's actually the book that excites you the most, or it's actually the book that you want to read. Be that book. Pick that book up. Finally, take it off from the shelf and open up your life. I'm sure that a lot of us have been delaying things that we have to do for ourselves, or that we even want to do for ourselves. For example, a lot of us have been delaying getting a massage because there's a lot of work to do, or you just simply don't have the time, for it. You always stay at work and never going out to do your own thing. A lot of us, we delay the very simplest things, even like, for example, grooming, or sprucing yourself up. I call it sprucing yourself up. Sprucing yourself up because, again, there's no time. You always have to be doing something for someone else or something else, This is that time for you to choose yourself. Choose yourself to be the first priority because you need it. Let's go beyond deserving it, and let's go to the point where you actually already need it, because we can still, We can still delay something even if we say that we deserve it, right? Let's go to the place where you need it. You need to focus on yourself. You need to check in with yourself. You need to reflect on yourself. You need to know where your mind is at, where your emotions are at, where your physical overall health is at, where your soul is at. And so Mercury retrograde is actually the complete blessing for you, that blessing in disguise for you to finally focus on yourself. Because almost 100%, let's say about 95% of the time, we do things for other people. We do things for other things, and we almost never do things for ourselves. We almost never look at ourselves, when in fact it's the most important thing that we should be doing on a daily basis, and not just Mercury retrograde. Okay? So, during Mercury retrograde, if there is anything that you've been delaying with yourself, and I'm not talking about haircuts, because you might regret it later on, but anything, any kind of reflection, any kind of inner work that you've been delaying yourself, any kind of check-in that you've been delaying yourself, now is the time to do it. It's not a suggestion, it's not an opinion, but it's your own self crying out to you, saying, please pay attention to me. It's time for you to pay attention to you. Okay? So that's the second bit. Now, third thing about Mercury retrograde, since it is about yourself, it's majority of Mercury retrograde is all about energy for yourself. This is a time for you also, it goes hand in hand, to step back from the outside world. And I don't mean to say step back in a sense of not responding to anyone, or not being engaged with with outside activities, or engaged with other people, not being interactive with other people. But it's really a time for you to kind of go with the flow when it comes to the outside, when it comes to the 3D world, In order for you to give yourself the most of your time, the most of your focus, you need to take a step back from always trying to make things happen on the outside world, on the 3D world. And this is important for manifestors. I am a conscious manifester. I love curating my life. I love creating things with the power of my mind. I love manifesting, basically. But I also know that during Mercury retrograde, it's kind of like self-concept time. It's that time for me. And so I will trust that anything that I've already put into my grid, everything that I've already asked for from the universe, from God, I'm a Catholic, as you maybe can tell with my scapular. So anything I've already asked for is already on the way. And so it's not time for me to keep asking, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's not a time for me to keep following it up, from God or from the universe. It's not that time. The time for me is to really focus on myself and see how I can improve myself, and see how I can be a better person to better receive what I've asked for. Because that also comes hand in hand when it comes to manifesting. Your self-concept is super important when it comes to manifesting. AKA, if you don't believe that you don't deserve it, then you will never receive it. It's just that simple. If you think you are not allowed to have it, then you will never have it, right? So you need to get to that place of confidence. You need to get to that place of good self-love and good self-care, wherein it already becomes consistent. And you can start building that during Mercury retrograde, Start with that small habit of just starting during Mercury retrograde. And then later on, it becomes an everyday thing. Your self-consciousness, your self-concept, your good self-concept becomes an everyday habit, and you live it out. And because of that, you become more attracted to the things that you've already asked for, Not that it won't make you receive your manifestation. Even people with poor self-concept manifest on a daily basis, right? But sometimes if you have a poor self-concept of yourself, things get delayed. You might find it difficult to receive. You might, especially if you don't feel like, or if you don't believe that you're worthy of good things, then you'll definitely have a hard time receiving your manifestations. So yes, definitely take that step back and just trust that, everything's coming. I've already put it out. I've already put out my intention, and it's coming to me. I'm going to trust that it's on the way to me, and now I'm going to go inside and do my own thing, work on my inner self so that when it finally comes, then I'm going to be up for it. I'm going to be competent enough for it. I'm going to feel amazing because I feel like I deserve it. And I know that I deserve it. And I'm just ready to receive it and keep it, right? So that's the third thing. Don't try to follow up too much on the outside world. Definitely do not go blaming the outside world if anything negative comes up, because again, it's time for inner work, time for inner work, time for inner work, time for self. Even if you're not spiritual, just take a step back and kind of focus on yourself more, right? Okay. Now, fourth thing, very important, and I already said it. Basically, during Mercury retrograde, I'd like to invite everyone to not blame Mercury retrograde. Never ever blame Mercury retrograde for anything negative actually that's happened in life, because the thing is, we do live in a focus-based universe. So whatever we feel, think, focus on, believe about ourselves, about the world, about other people is what we get back in return. So it's as easy as that, basically. And this includes everything positive as well as everything negative. It's a hard pill to swallow, but once you finally do accept it, once you finally do understand it, then it actually gives you the power back, because we can only control something that we have total dominion over, right? If we feel like we have dominion over it, then naturally, this is what I'm saying, naturally we'll also feel like we can control it. And it is the truth. So once we take responsibility for the things that we both want and don't want, that's when we start to finally accept that we are the creators of our own reality, that we can change everything just by, intending it, just with a simple intention. Reiki operates this way, with a simple intention of, I would like to transfer this energy and heal another person. It's already done. Manifesting works this way. I would like this thing, this person, this particular experience, and it's already done. It's already created, right? It's already on the way to you. And so anything bad that happens during Mercury retrograde, definitely don't just, there's a car. Definitely don't just go about blaming Mercury retrograde and saying, oh, this is the reason why it happened, because it's Mercury retrograde. Not necessarily. There was a time when you have probably thought of this thing and it's only coming out during Mercury retrograde. That's it. That's the only explanation for it. Sometimes it's not direct. I mean, we really don't ask for negative things to happen, but negative thoughts and emotions and beliefs, they come out in different ways, right? I mean, they can be translated in different manifestations. So that's the thing. So the fourth thing is really just to not really blame Mercury retrograde for anything that happened, and instead, in order to transmute this, in order to change it, take dominion over it, take responsibility for it, so that you can say that you are its maker, and because that is the truth, right? You did create it, and you now have the power to destroy it as well. Or you now have the power rather to change it, allow it to become something positive, instead of continuously experiencing that negative thing over and over again, or even just during Mercury retrograde, right? Okay. And the last thing, the fifth thing to take note of whenever Mercury retrograde comes is to basically think before you act. Mercury retrograde can sometimes be very foggy to a lot of people because it does come with its own energetic stamp, right? I mean, everything comes with its own energetic stamp, and it stays that way until we intend for it not to, right? So before you decide on getting that haircut, that dyeing your hair, getting married, getting together with with this guy or this girl, you know. I mean, getting into a relationship, starting a new business, changing your business, getting a new job, quitting your job, anything that is highly regrettable, don't jump into it whenever it's Mercury retrograde. Don't make that hasty decision, rather. Don't decide on a whim that, oh my gosh, yes, this is perfect. I'm going to do it right now. Tomorrow you'll quit your job. Or, yes, this feels right. This person feels right, etc., etc. Then you already get married after 1 second of knowing that person, right? Mercury retrograde is not a pass for us to be hasty and to remove all logic and thinking and just operate fully on whims, you know, because that's what it feels like most of the time when it's Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of like, what do you call it? I forget what it's called, but there is a lot of energy that is unthought through, that is unfiltered, you know, that you don't sift through it before you actually do it. So a lot of times whenever people do something or decide something, big decisions, you know, big actions during Mercury retrograde, they often find themselves either regretting it or thinking about it again, you know, like kind of second guessing themselves at the end of Mercury retrograde. And the reason for this is because, again, that's not what this time is for. This time is for you. So why would you focus that energy on something external? Always, always go back to yourself during Mercury retrograde. It's the perfect time to be selfish during a retrograde because you also need it. You need it to be in tune with yourself. You need it to make good decisions. You need it to feel good emotionally. You need it to kind of pump up your body, you know, your health and your overall state, your overall aura, physical, emotional, spiritual. It's not the time to go about making the decision to change your outside world. No, you have the rest of the year or the rest of the time outside of retrograde to do that. For now, focus on yourself. And that is what really ties this all together. You know, in order to survive Mercury retrograde, you just have to focus on yourself. You need to be so in tune with yourself that every decision that you make, every action that you do is not hasty. Everything that you do and feel and think about and anything that happens within Mercury retrograde has been thought about by you very well, has been felt by you very well. You know, you've already glossed through it so many times that you are certain that even outside of Mercury retrograde, this will be your decision. Okay, so Mercury retrograde is not the time to be hasty. It's not the time to be going about trying to force the 3D world. It's not about making immediate decisions. It's not about extensive interaction even with the 3D or the outside world. It's all about you. And that is actually the only thing that you need to know. That's the only thing that you need to take note of when it comes to surviving Mercury retrograde. So I've rambled. It's almost a 24-minute video. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you use this to enjoy your Mercury retrograde. You know, I mean, it's a time for you. What could be better? Enjoy that time. If you like this video, please give it your thumbs up. If you have any comments or suggestions, you want to say hey, please comment down below. If you would like to receive notifications of my new videos, please hit the subscribe button over there. And if you would like your very own tarot reading or Reiki healing session with me, or even a consultation session with me, online for now, of course, here are the details. And I will see you guys next time. Stay happy, stay healthy, enjoy your Mercury retrograde. You know, you deserve to enjoy this time for yourself. Ciao for now.